Welcome to another episode of New Music Today. I'm your host, Corey Robertson, and we are on the WePodcast network. A big show lined up today. Some of my favorite songs from some of my favorite local artists. We'll hear from Pat Robitaille, Shadestone, I Know Karate, and we'll leave you with something live from my friend Jody Raffoul. Plus, we'll talk to Randy Bachman of Guess Who and BTO fame. We'll talk about how the gig must go on, even through the wildest of weather storms, how he met Burton Cummings, and his special connection to the city of Windsor. Plus, we'll look at this week in music history, and it's all being brought to you by Dulux Paint. Their BOGO Buy One, Get One Free sale starts this Monday, September the 18th, and runs through October 8th at all three of their Windsor locations, as well as the authorized dealer store in Leamington. It is New Music Today, and we are on the WePodcast network. And we'll kick off this week's show with some music from one of my favorites, Shadestone, who started a duo called The Rains and had some minimal success with it. Nice tour of radio stations, signed to the Fontana record label at that time, and had a good run with that. Broke off as a solo artist and released this one called All of Me. Local music on New Music Today right here on the WePodcast network.
A cold stare, I start the engine. My heart pounds, I'm forced to listen. Your angry eyes show more than any words could say. As your breath bogs up the window, all I hear is 'cause I say so. Maybe that's the reason I do nothing right. As I drive, the view of the ocean reminds me how big love should be. So I turn to you and say, all of my love, with all of my soul. This isn't enough. Why do I bother? Why do I bother? Now the time has come to enter the house of cards where I surrender. I pull my pride from every bottle I can find. While the alcohol seeks shelter, I wonder how I could do better. I think of ways to give you more than all of me. As my body and mind are weakened, my courage seems to follow them, till I find the strength to say, with all of my soul. It isn't enough. Why do I bother? Why do I? All of my love, with all of my soul. This isn't enough. Why do I bother? Why do I bother? All of my love, with all of my soul.
That's All of Me by Shade Stone from Windsor, Ontario. I'm Corey Robertson, and this is New Music Today on the WePodcast Network. You know, with all of the crazy weather that's been going around North America in the last couple of weeks, and you think, my goodness, there's just been some terrible things. You've got the fires in California. There's not one, not two. There's 3 hurricanes that have been just ravaging the states. BC is still on fire, and doesn't it sort of seem... I saw this meme there on the interweb, on the www.interweb.com there, and they had one of these memes that said, do you get the feeling that, you know, some famous politician said there's no such thing as climate change, and then climate change stood up and said, hold my beer, I'll be right back? Well, it got me thinking. Big weather storms can sometimes affect your live gig. And as the performer in all of us, we really want to say that the show must go on. Well, I talked to one of Canada's biggest musicians about that very thing, about what it's like when you've got a huge gig, when you've got a huge weather storm rolling in, and what happens. I had the opportunity to talk to Randy Bachman of Guess Who and, of course, BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive. They had a big concert in Winnipeg. It was being broadcast on the CBC, and a huge weather storm rolled in across the prairies and actually looked like it was threatening to cancel the entire show. Well, here's what Randy and the boys in Guess Who on their reunion did.
I remember watching the special that was on CBC when you guys played in Winnipeg. And was it the weather that made you guys kind of cancel for a while?
Yeah, a rolling thunder storm came in, and it started to not just rain, just totally pelt downpour. And then the wind and lightning made it dangerous, you know, with the overhead lights and everything. And there was helicopter shooting from above, and it was just all too dangerous. But the great thing about the prairies, you phone the weather office, and they say, this is going to last 21 minutes. So we knew we would be off for approximately, 48, 50 minutes. Told the crowd we would come back. Not one person left. It stopped. They squeegeed off the stage, dried it all off with towels. We went back out. We just wanted to come back electric. It came right back with American Woman. And then just finished the set, and as we were doing the last song, the encore, it started to rain again. It was absolutely the perfect break because it gave us a chance to appreciate that the audience didn't leave. Not one person. There was like 18,000 people there. We didn't leave and say, oh, screw it, it's raining. We waited and came back on, and the whole thing was just like a real coming together. And after we came back on, it's just like totally relaxed, and we're back, and you're still here. And I came out to Burton on stage and said, let's rock, and we just got into it.
Kind of part of the Canadian experience, though, playing in a storm like that, isn't it?
It was the ultimate Canadian, lightning, perfect weather storm, actually, because people always hear about the Winnipeg weather, and I sing it in Prairie Town, Portage-Germain 50 below, but you never really sing about the rolling thunder.
Now, tell me about the first time you ever met Burton Cummings.
Wow. I think he just came to one of our dances. I was in the Guess Who. He was in a band called the Deverons. He just came to our dance and stood there and watched us. I mean, the younger bands would go and watch the older bands. There was no teachers. You just went to watch guys who were maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years older who had been together for a couple of years and had played all the dances around town, and you decided to start a band with your friends, and you came and watched the other bands. And I remember meeting him at several of those, as did Neil Young and the Squires come and watch us also. And you get to know the guys, and you kind of grow to be friends. And then when the time came to get a new singer, Burton Cummings was the obvious first choice, because he had a fabulous voice and could play piano and was a couple of years younger.
Well, there was a story that I had heard about when you named BTO and you got the idea.
Yeah.
But is there a connection to something about a truck stop near Windsor?
Yeah, it was in Windsor. We had just done a gig somewhere near there and stopped, I think, at a Husky station. We went to pay the bill, and there was the Overdrive magazine. We opened it up and saw it, and I said to Fred Turner, what a great name for an album. And he said, no, how about for the band? So we put Bachman Turner in front of it and Overdrive, and called our label the next day and said, we got a new name. And they said, fabulous, but it's too long. Nobody will remember it. And then we said, well, how about BTO? Crosby, Stills and Nash had an album called CSNN. So to have a long name and little initials that fit was absolutely perfect for us.
Randy Bachman of Guess Who and BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive fame. Bet you didn't know that there was that connection to Windsor, that BTO got its name from right here in Windsor at the Husky over on 42. Absolutely incredible. It's Corey Robertson, and this is New Music Today on the WePodcast Network. Time now for Music History This Week. It was on September the 10th back in 1973 that the Stones starred in a Star scandal. And there may be a bad word in this piece. The final track on the Stones album Goat's Head Soup, album released by the Stones on their own label, Rolling Stones Record, got them in a lot of trouble with BBC One as well as the record label that was hoping to distribute them. Well, it hardly came as a surprise to anyone at the time who had played the track. The track was listed as Star Star on the back of the record. But it was obvious to anyone with, shall we say, less than perfect hearing that the chorus was predominantly composed of the word starfucker. It was the third album released by the group on their own Rolling Stones record label, formed in 1971, but it was licensed to Atlantic Records. And Atlantic Records boss Ahmet Ertegun was less than impressed, as you might imagine, not with the track in general, great song, but with the use of that word. The song was really about a groupie, as Jagger points out, and that it was on their own label, and they felt they could release whatever they want. That's not where the argument lied. But Atlantic Records felt that there could be some lawsuits over the track and the title of it. But he ended up compromising it, and they all agreed to officially call the song Star Star, and they came to that compromise when the actor Steve McQueen, who's actually mentioned in the song Star Star, Steve McQueen confirmed that he, in fact, would not sue the label nor the band. So sometimes you gotta be careful with that artistic integrity and make sure that you're not gonna face those lawsuits. It was on September 11th of 1987 that Peter Tosh of the Wailers was killed, actually, as burglars entered his home in Jamaica. Peter Tosh, one of the founding members of the seminal reggae group the Wailers, he had left the band as well as a couple of other guys, leaving Bob Marley as the only star of that band. And of course, they all go on to some pretty great personal fame. Well, with the coming legalization of marijuana in Canada by July of 2018, it's somewhat ironic that this week is the anniversary of Peter Tosh dying. Of course, Peter, back in the 70s and 80s, a huge proponent of legalizing marijuana. In fact, one of his biggest hit songs, Legalize It. It was on September the 15th in 1977 that Bob Dylan found out that trophies and record sales don't necessarily fill audiences. Bob Dylan seemed to have turned to God on September the 15th of 1979. He released an album called Slow Train Coming. It was an album of religious songs, and it provoked a lot of rumors that Dylan, who had been brought up in the Jewish faith, had become a born-again Christian because of the songs on the record. Mark Knopfler of British supergroup Dire Straits played on the album with Dylan, and it became the second ever record for Dylan that was platinum certified. The tour was disappointing, but the album made it to number 3 on the charts. The song Gotta Serve Somebody won Dylan a Grammy in 1980 for Best Male Rock Performance, but he just couldn't fill any seats. And finally, it was on September the 16th of 1977 that Mark Bolan passed away in an automobile accident. Mark Bolan, of course, the performer who more than anybody else epitomized the glam rock movement that dominated the British charts in the mid-70s and through to the early 80s, was killed when the car in which he was a passenger collided with a tree on Barnes Common in southwest London. Mark Bolan was part of several different groups, and it wasn't until he struck out on his own in a band called Tyrannosaurus Rex. And even then, it wasn't until a record label said, let's call it T-Rex. And of course, as T-Rex, they had 4 number 1 hits between 1970 and 1973. It wasn't until they released the song Get It On in the States that they added the parenthetical title Bang a Gong, Get It On, and that, believe it or not, was to avoid confusion with another song called Get It On that was performed by the jazz rock group Chase. Mark Bolan passed away this week in 1977. Next week on This Week in Music History, we'll look at some records that were broken in some unusual ways. The Supremes topped the chart 10 years after breaking up. New Kids on the Block go 9 in a row. Simon and Garfunkel break a record in Central Park. And Bryan Adams breaks a 36-year record in the UK. That's next week on This Week in Music History. I'm Corey Robertson, and this is New Music Today on the WePodcast Network. Rolling into some more of my favorite local songs from some of my favorite local and indie artists. Pat Robitaille, this is No Superman on New Music Today.
Strong as I can. I can't live this world. I can only hold you, girl. La la la. Dime to spare. If I had to buy your love, I could never pay enough. La 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 la. I can't paint no masterpiece. I can't write no symphony. Don't get what you see in me, 'cause I'm a stupid man. But I know who I am, and I can read you like a book. Only in your heart I look. Don't get what you see in me. I can't paint no masterpiece. I can't write no symphony. I can never be the man you need, so I just don't get what you see in me. I can't paint no masterpiece. I can't write no symphony. I can never be the man you need, so I just don't get what you see in me. I can never be the man you need, so I just don't get what you see in me. La 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 la, la 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 la.
That's Pat Robitaille and No Superman. I'm Corey Robertson. Thank you for joining us on another episode of New Music Today here on the WePodcast Network. Brought to you by Dulux Paint. It's the BOGO sale. Buy one, get one free. It's running from September the 18th through October the 8th at all 3 of their Windsor locations. Also at the authorized dealer store in Leamington. And if you're looking for something special, you may want to take note of what you can do at the different locations. At the 3016 Walker location, that's where they specialize in PPG and Amercoat industrial coatings, whereas at the 325 Tecumseh West location, you're going to find in-stock and book order wallpaper. Over at the 3506 Tecumseh East location, it's lacquer wood finishes. Thank you so much, Dulux Paint. We appreciate your support of this show, and by supporting this show, you're supporting local and indie artists. The BOGO sale for Dulux Paints runs September 18th through October the 8th. And now let's roll another one of my favorites from a great local band, I Know Karate. I was on a guest panel for Factor a few years back, and we brought the folks from Factor into town to put on a session on how you can get grants to do your albums, on how you can get grants to go on tour, and we had a really great audition session as well, where we played some local music, and that's where I discovered these guys and where I discovered this song. And I think our panel that day agreed that this was the best song of the day. This is Jennifer. This is I Know Karate on New Music Today on the WePodcast Network.
Hey, this is Jen. I'm not around, so just leave a message and I'll get back to you when I can, okay? Bye.
Jennifer, please pick up the phone. Jenny, I don't wanna be alone. Jennifer, wait, he's a good guy. Jenny, I don't know why I even tried. Jennifer, call me on your phone. Jenny, I wanna be the one who holds you. Jennifer, wait, he's on my team. Jenny, I know you know what I mean. Jennifer, call me on the phone. Jenny, I don't wanna be alone. Jennifer, wait, he's a good guy. Jenny, I don't know why I even try. Why do I even? Jennifer, call me on your phone. Jennifer, please, don't wanna be alone. Jennifer, please pick up your phone. Pick up your phone, yeah, pick up your phone. Jennifer, I just wanna be with you. Jennifer, we can start something new. Jennifer, please pick up your phone. Pick up your phone, yeah, pick up your phone, yeah, pick up your phone, yeah, Jennifer, I'm so in love. Jenny, you came from up above. Jennifer, wait, I'm out of luck. Jenny, I just want to maybe. Jennifer, call me on the phone. Jenny, I don't wanna be alone. Jennifer, wait, he's on my team. Jenny, I know you know what I mean. Yeah, you know what I mean. Jennifer, call me on your phone. Jennifer, please don't wanna be alone. Jennifer, please pick up your phone. Pick up your phone, yeah, pick up your phone. Jennifer, I just wanna be with you. Jennifer, we can start something new. Jennifer, please pick up your phone. Pick up your phone, yeah, 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 pick up your phone, yeah.
Mailbox belonging to
Jen.
is full.
Jennifer, call me on your phone. Jennifer, please don't wanna be alone. Jennifer, please pick up your phone. Pick up your phone, yeah, pick up your phone. Jennifer, I just wanna be with you. Jennifer, we can start something new. Jennifer, please pick up your phone. Pick up your phone, yeah, 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 pick up your phone, yeah.
I Know Karate And Jennifer, I'm Corey Robertson. This is New Music Today on the WePodcast Network. Brought to you by Dulux Paint. Their BOGO buy one, get one free sale is running from September the 18th through October the 8th at all 3 of their Windsor locations, as well as the authorized dealer store in Leamington, Ontario. If you would like to be featured on the show, send your submissions to me. You can email Corey at newmusictoday.ca. That's C-O-R-E-Y, Corey at newmusictoday.ca. Get in touch with me as well if you think you got what it takes to do a live in-studio performance. We'll be going video next time around. We'll be talking to Mike O'Fee, former lead singer of Mike Lords and Sauce Funky, now a very successful solo artist. He will be in studio live for an interview, as well as 2 or 3 of his brilliant solo songs, and we'll have that live. If you'd like to be a part of it, again, email me, Corey at newmusictoday.ca. Next week, we feature Mike O'Fee. We'll leave you with one of my favorites, a close personal friend of mine, some live music from Jody Raffoul. This is New Music Today. I'm Corey Robertson.